What's up, guys? Welcome to episode number 5 of Soccer Dad Radio Podcast.
Cinco, this is Ryan.
This is Matt, SDR number 5, and we are joined today by Jenna. She is the owner of Frost and Float, which is located in Murrieta.
It's not frozen yogurt. It's not a dessert.
We do get that a lot, though.
That would be great
Yes.
addition.
Well, they see my car, the bright pink one with the flowers, and first they think we're a florist. Then they
Right.
see Frost and Float, and they're really thinking they're going to get good ice cream. And then they realize that we just freeze them.
You don't have a soft serve machine somewhere?
I should, probably. We kept
Right.
joking that we were going to have like a root beer float party when we opened, but
Mhm.
we never got that far.
Well, we need to make that happen.
Yeah, we need to see that, for sure.
I'll invite you, promise.
All right, well, let's jump right in. Background.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jenna. How you used to play soccer, right?
Yes, I played soccer out here before there were all these big clubs that had like multi-city teams, like a South and a North. I played back when it was, you had like Murrieta Soccer Club and you had Temecula Soccer Club, and then they merged. And I played for them for years. I mean, probably 10 years, 12 years of club soccer under my belt. So,
Wow.
Okay.
yeah, it was fun. Best memory, like, I really didn't appreciate my parents enough for what they did for me when I played club soccer.
Kids, are you
Because now I've
listening?
got mine playing, I'm like, wow, like, your entire life has to revolve around soccer schedules. And when I was playing, like, I didn't realize that. So, yeah, gotta love mom and dad a little bit more.
Well, that's kind of cool that you've come to that 180 now and can look back and say, hey, thanks.
Oh, yeah, because we had, I mean, it was back then, practice was at least 3 days a week, and then we had, usually tournaments Saturday, Sunday, like normal, and then finals. There was always finals. It was usually on Monday back then. But yeah, it's been an interesting little like gut check of like, wow, they did a lot. And my brother played for another team. He was a goalie. So on top of his regular, practice, he also had his goalie training. But he played for a team because out here, he kind of outgrew the teams in this area. So he was playing way down in Lucadia. So they were driving,
Oh,
San
yeah.
Diego 3 times a week
Good
on top of
trek.
games. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting little reality check of what all my parents did when I was growing up out
Nice.
here.
Did you play high school soccer?
Yeah, I played
Yeah.
high school. I played for Temecula, so
Okay.
that's where I graduated from. And it kind of, I played all the way through. And, high school I have mixed feelings about because I have really great memories playing, but I also have a lot of memories of a lot of injuries from high school soccer.
Hey, we heard that on previous episodes before. Sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
it's just, you're mixing, I think it's just because you're mixing players of so many different calibers, and a lot of times you're not playing in your same position, or like me, I used to play defensive mid, so I had a good, I knew I could predict what my team was going to do, whereas in high school you're playing with completely different people, completely different coaching, and you also, people play different when, their boyfriend or girlfriend is watching on the sideline.
Right.
It's, you're not necessarily playing the smart game, you're playing a different type of game. So
Yes.
it was, yeah, but I did play high school and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I definitely got beat up in high school playing, bruises and banged up from just playing different clubs and stuff. But
Mhm.
it was fun, weird playing against my club teammates, so I didn't like that. They always beat us though.
That's part of the fun. That's part of the fun, though. The
Yeah.
rivalry.
Yeah.
That's what the kids like, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah. You always feel like you have an edge because you know how they play.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it was good though. I think I was busy. I was a busy kid. We played a lot, and I mean, I thought I was busy. I thought my schedule was crazy. But now I look at, with what we do here at Frost and Float, and I talk to these kids that are coming in on top of like their, they've got their regular practice. Then most of the clubs or the parents will have them in like a speed and agility training. And then some of them are doing weightlifting because they're in high school already. I mean, it's insane how busy these kids are now.
Do you think, this is your opinion, do
Okay.
you think it's too much? Do you think parents are forcing too much on their kids?
I think it's a lot, but I don't know if it's the parents. Like, I know that there is that, like, perception of, like, oh, so-and-so makes their kid do all this and all this and all this. But I have kids that come in here. I have a couple of the ODP players that come in here, and it's not the parents. Like, the kids are like, no, man, like, I want to be the best. I've got one of my, call them my favorites because I'm so impressed by so many of these kids, but I think she's a sophomore, and she's already got everything lined up, committed to a college, and I mean, she's like done deal, knows where she's going, she's got her like, educational path all sorted out. And but she's the one where it's like, no, I'm going, like I'm trying out for this team, I'm trying out for the academy team, I'm going to this ID camp.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's the kids. Now whether it's the kids that are because they've been brought up that way, or like I know me, I wanted to be the best. So
Right.
I would pretty much try and convince my parents to spend money on any extra coaching or training or drills or camps.
Yes.
Because
I
I
wanted this.
wanted to be the best, but I was also just a very competitive person. Maybe not all kids are that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and then you see some where you're like, when a kid comes in and they're literally 2 days out of the cast, like, we try and buy them some time, because that, and then that's how I kind of look at it, is, you know, because the kid's like, cast is off, I should go play, and I'm like, whoa, like, let's just slow down for a second.
Pump the brakes.
Let's maybe get you, you know, your cast is off, but are you healthy? Like, are your muscles moving? Have you gotten circulation down there? Like, where are we at? So that's, you know, part of what I think I help with a lot of times is when people are coming off a serious injury, there's that mentality of, if I'm not practicing, I'm not doing anything to get any better. Whereas with where we kind of fit in is people come off these like really serious injuries, whether it's a knee surgery or, you know, an ACL strain or whatever it may be. And it's like, well, rather than you go and push yourself at practice when your body's not physically ready, why don't you, you know, come hang here, come see us a couple of times, let me ice you, let me get the inflammation out, let's get blood flowing in there. And we're still doing something to make you better. So that it fills that void of like just feeling like you're sitting on the sidelines. It kind of
Makes sense.
gives them something.
Yeah, definitely.
Something to kind of work towards, look forward to.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's
light
not
at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and it's not like what we do, like, you know, here when we do like a cryotherapy spot treatment, or whether the kids are coming to float because of their hip flexors or whatever it may be. It's not like I'll never be able to replace a doctor or even like a physical therapist or a chiropractor. Like, all I do is basically take what those specialists and those doctors do and help it along and expedite the healing. That's all. We just boost the process. It's not there to necessarily replace.
Right.
So we have that conversation a lot around here.
So you played high school.
Yep.
You go to college?
Yeah.
Go the college route?
I did. So I made the decision right before I graduated. I call her like my soccer soul sister. Like, we played together and she was my best friend. She definitely had, I mean, she was going to a D1 on a full ride. She could have probably played on the Olympic team. Like, she was that good. And she snapped her ACL. And I was there. And when that happened, it kind of gave me like, it still gives me like a chill, just because it kind of just, everything just stopped. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like almost perfect timing that something like that would have happened, though, because I was kind of like teetering on back and forth of, did I want to play college soccer? Did I not want to play college soccer? Yeah. And part of me, what I say was like the wisdom of me, all of 17 years old. But I kind of wanted to focus more on my academics, and that gave me the excuse of, you know what, I don't want to play pro. I'm not looking for all that. I'd rather focus on my academics and go that route. And I'm glad I made that choice, but it was a hard decision, and that was kind of what sealed it for me, just because I realized that it could all just go away so fast.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Do you miss playing?
Yes.
Yes.
I do. I am not a good sideline parent, because it's really hard for me, because I'm like,
Do you have the sucker in the mouth? Are you the parent
I am the one.
Give tape to?
Potentially, no. I can restrain myself, but it is very hard, because, and I didn't think I was going to be like that. Like, I used to make fun of my mom, because she would be the mom that like sat on the sideline, and she was like team mom, like she was really involved. But like when we'd be running after the ball, like she'd be the mom that's like sitting in the chair running her legs too. Like, and I used to make fun of her. Like, I can't sit during a soccer game, and it doesn't have to be my daughter's. Like, I can't sit during like any kid's soccer game. Like, I'm up and down, and
sounds like
usually
we need to bring her out and like mic her.
Oh my god!
I
don't know that it could be colorful, just because, you know, when you play and you know the sport, it's really hard to be like, why aren't they opening up? Why aren't you switching? It's very hard.
So are you guys playing this weekend? Can we get out there with a video camera? And
this weekend?
like
No.
Matt
Next
said,
weekend
mic you
maybe.
up.
Well, and that's the other thing about being here, is I don't get to go to a lot of the games, so I always ask, even like not my kids team, but like other players that come in, I'm like, anybody that has like an 8 a.m. Galway Downs game, like I want to go to those, because I can make it to there and I can still get here and open the spa on time.
Right.
So I'm waiting. This year I have a whole plan though of how I'm going to make it to soccer games, because I saw all the Arsenal tents were set up. I did a 5K foam run last weekend with the kids.
Oh yeah, how was
That's
that?
what all those slides were. Huh?
Yeah, it was
cool.
It was cool. But I kept looking like, oh gosh, there's like National Cup after this. We could stay. I'm like, oh, I have to open the spa. It was fun though, but they didn't. They said foam. It was Foam Fest. They didn't mention all the mud. I thought I was being strategic, because my middle, she's 9, and she really wants to do like a mud run, and I'm just not that cool of a parent.
Okay.
Apparently, I just don't want to crawl through mud. That just doesn't seem very appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, Foam Fest, perfect. It's like fun, obstacles, and clean.
Yeah. Well, that foam has got to mix with the dirt.
No, 3 slip and slides into mud pits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Trenching,
nice.
crawling like on your belly.
Well, that's better. It's PC. It's more PC than a mud run.
Yeah, and
I've ran a ton, and I've only done one mud run. Everyone swears by mud runs, but it's like playing sand soccer.
Yeah.
You're you're gonna get injured.
I have
Like, you're gonna get
very
injured.
mixed feelings about sand soccer.
You don't
Yes.
you don't know where you're jumping into. You don't know what's at the bottom. You don't like it's one of the worst runs someone can do. And I get it, they're fun and the tough mutters and all that, but no.
Well,
it's
and the
not.
first puddle that I ran through, like, and I wasn't like, competitively running. I was running with the kids.
Yeah.
The first mud puddle that I ran through, there was like a stick that was sticking up.
Oh,
I cut
that's what
my
I mean.
my knee. Like my
Yeah.
knee is like all gnarly and bruised still. And it was I was just running through the mud.
Yeah, then they have the dumb ones where they shock you and all
Yeah,
that. And
right.
Oh, I
like
didn't-
no, why
they
do you
shock
wanna
you?
just running's bad enough as it is. Like no one wants to run for fun, honestly, and pay at that point, but so let's get so after college you did some cruise ship stuff, right?
I did,
Okay.
yeah. So I graduated with my BA really young. Academics was kind of my thing. So I powered through my BA in, I don't know, like maybe 2 years. It didn't take very long. And when you're 18, 19 years old with a bachelor's degree, rightfully so, nobody takes you seriously.
Right.
So I was like, all right, need to do something else. And I found my way to cruise ships, and I worked on cruise ships for 12 years. And it was it was a really awesome opportunity. It really changed the person that I am. Like, I was very shy. I was very, like, nose in the books, super nerdy, like, played my soccer, got my good grades, and really didn't, I was like the nerdiest kid in school. But I was also very timid and socially, like, couldn't hold a conversation with people. So I thought, going on a cruise ship, which would be like the most uncomfortable environment ever, would be good for me because it's going to change me and it's going to bring me out of my shell. And that's pretty much exactly what it did. So when you work on a cruise ship, the standard is that you work anywhere from, usually it's like 6 to 8 months, 24/7. You're on call the whole time, and then you take anywhere from 2 months to 2.5 months off. So you'd get like this vacation time where I would come back home. And so I pretty much was in the Caribbean, I was in Alaska. But
So you don't work the same route.
No,
can
no, you
jump
don't.
around.
And
Well, that's
most
pretty cool.
of the crew members, it's really cool because you work like while the ship is sailing, but then when you get to port, you get that half a day off or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I'm in St. Thomas, or I'm in St. Martin, or I'm in Juneau or Skagway, and because all the passengers are off the ship going on tours and everything, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. So you get to
Cool
see the
way
world.
To see the world.
Right.
Yeah, you can save
Get
a lot of
paid.
money because
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
pay to be there. So you get a paycheck, but you don't pay. The food's free. It's really awesome, and you meet people from all over the world. My job was the opposite of all the other crew members' jobs. So when I was on the ship, I was a professional speaker, so I did a lot of like presentations on where we were going, how to get downtown, where to eat, where to shop, where not to eat.
From timid and shy.
Right.
Yeah,
yes,
to
right.
doing
Okay.
1,000-person shows, just
Yeah.
me on stage. Yeah, totally got me out of my shell, to say the
It's
least.
cool. Like you're not gonna see those people again. Like,
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's
kinda
really
makes it
easy.
easier.
It's way easier for me to talk in front of 1,000 people or a video camera than it is for me to stand in front of like 30 of my peers. Like that's
Okay.
way more intimidating.
I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't really. I mean, you do get the crazy ones that keep coming back because they cruise all the time.
Right.
But for the most part, you never see the people again.
We
What
call
cruise-
those
what-
stalkers.
Yeah.
Yes.
What cruise ship was it?
I worked on. So I was an independent contractor. So I worked
so you could
on.
go anywhere?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I would go to the highest bidder. That was pretty much
Nice.
how it worked. So
Okay.
whoever had like the best itineraries, who had the best quality of life. So I did everything from like carnival ships, which are like really fun young crowds, to like the upper echelon of like going on Cunard. And then I've worked on Disney, and I've worked on, which is like the young kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I've worked on like Holland America, which is
The older.
the wiser people in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wiser.
I'd be in
Wiser.
trouble. Have you been on a cruise ship?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble with the soft serve machine.
Oh yeah, that that 24.
That
24/7.
soft serve machine
Yes.
is just.
And they like change up the flavors like throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hit. That
Yeah.
soda machines were always
Yeah.
packed.
2 a.m. Trips down to the pizza,
Yeah.
to the buffet line. Yeah.
Pretty much. And you weren't the only one. They were all
No.
there too.
Oh, yeah.
So what led you to where we're at today, Frost and Float?
So once you've worked on a cruise ship, it became very evident to me that I was not going to be able to come home and do like a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
That I don't know how to do that. It doesn't resonate with me. Like I've never done it, so it doesn't really make sense because my brain doesn't switch off when we lock the door. Like that's just not normal for me.
Right.
And I was very fortunate that I was on the ships as long as I was. I worked my way up to like the biggest and best in the world. And when you are on those larger ships that have 5,000 or 6,000 people cruising, you have professional athletes from all over the world. So some of my closest friends were like Red Bull cliff divers. So the guys that jump off those crazy cliffs and like land in, however many meters of water,
Oh,
doing
that's
all
really
the
cool.
flips on the way down.
Yep.
You've got acrobats that are, vacation and do a contract on a ship, but they're actually in the Cirque du Soleil shows.
Right.
You've got, aerial artists that fly through the air. I mean, you have some of like the most extreme athletes surrounding you, and you're like hanging out with them and, having dinner with them and whatever. And I was quite fascinated by the fact that when, these super elite athletes would get hurt, like none of them would go to now the doctors on board ships are different, but none of them would go to the doctor. Like it never even like dawned on them to like go take pain pills or to go and see if they need this done or this done. Like they literally like, oh, like, okay, I need to either, they believed in healing through strengthening. So if they pulled a quad or they pulled a muscle, like they would do exercises to open it up and stretch it. But a lot of their therapies were more like what we consider to be like non-invasive or holistic therapies. A lot of massage or cupping or scraping, a lot of icing. And I found that very interesting. So fast forward to, I don't know, 2 contracts or so, about 2 years ago, when I was trying to decide, what I was going to do on land. And my brother, currently, he's almost done with his last contract, but he also was a shopping guy, did the same job I did. Him and I were home at the same time, and we were talking. We're like, oh, we got to figure out what we want to do on land. Well, our job, I know, see some of this lingo that I forget is like
Right.
weird, but yeah, so on land, what are we going to do? Can you imagine doing your job 24 hours a day? For maybe this one, but 24 hours a day nonstop, like you
just
get
can't turn it
exhausted.
off.
Yeah, it's just, you can't find balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so to reset myself, what I would normally do is I'd come home and I would go to the gym a lot and try and like burn off some of the stress and get myself back to what I call level. And I would do floating, which is like how we ended up with the float tanks here. And that would help just kind of reset my anxiety and like help me just get rid of all the stress of the ship. So the floating I had known about, my brother had never done it, so all of our birthdays are in September, so I bought him and the Russian who is here working with me. Her name's Kate, but we call her the Russian. The Russian. I had bought them both gift certificates to try floating because I thought that that'd be something that they would think is cool, and I always like to give people the gift of like an experience versus just like a present. So I just thought that would be something cool they could do together. Around that same time, I had just gotten off the ship and I was at home with my now husband, then boyfriend. And I was wanting to work out, and we were, it was later in the day or whatever, and there was no classes anywhere, and I didn't want to go to the gym. So I found this bar class, which is like a ballet-based exercise. And I am very competitive, so I go to this class, and I'm like there in like literally like Adidas soccer pants and like a tank top. And all the other women in the class were like super adorable. Like I definitely underdressed for this exercise class. And I was like, wow, note to self. Next time, leggings with a matching headband. Got it. So the instructor comes over to me and was very nice and just like acknowledging like, oh, you must be new here. I'm like, yep. How'd you know?
How'd you know?
So she's like, well, most of the girls are going to stay on their toes because it's a ballet exercise for the entire class, but you're new, so you can just put your heels down whenever you want. And I was like...
Challenge accepted.
Basically, yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, done. I'm staying on my toes. And I did. And I was so proud of myself because I think it was like a 75-minute class with stretching and all that. So for all that time, I stayed on my toes. And I was like, who does she think she is telling me to put my heels down? I woke up the next morning and I strained both my calves. And I couldn't put my heels down if I wanted to. And it was about 10 days of me walking around on my tippy toes. And my husband said to me, he's like, okay, it's starting to get embarrassing because you're literally just walking on your tiptoes. It looks like you're wearing invisible high heels. Like, it's not cool. He's like, so you like to do weird stuff? I'm like, yeah. He was like, let's go try this cryotherapy thing out. And he had seen it, like, LeBron James was like on TV doing it, or like they've got cryo chambers like ours, like in the, baseball locker rooms. It's like, let's go try it. So at that time, the only place to do cryotherapy was Yorba Linda, Orange County, right? So we're like, all right, let's go drive and brave the 91 traffic and get out there. It took forever. And so we get to this like really gross gym, and like gyms aren't meant to be like spas, but it was like we were in the thick of it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to strip down in here. This is gross. Yeah. But my calves were hurting, and we drove the 91, so we were gone. And so I get in the chamber. I'm getting all ready, whatever. I'm going first, and the guy says to me, he's like, hey, like you're a girl, so we're gonna put him in for the max amount of time on the high level, but you don't have to do that. And I'm like, this is how I got into this mess. So I'm like, I'm staying. So I stayed for the whole time on the highest level. It was cold. And it wasn't like our machine that gets you warm and then gets you cold. It just straight dumps the nitrogen vapors in there, and it's like, really cold. And at some point in the 3 minutes that I was in there, both of my calves had like released. And so I hobbled in like a penguin, but when I got out, like I was walking completely normal. I was blown away. And I'm not an easy person to sell things to because of my past experience of working on cruise ships. Like,
Right.
you're not going to convince me I need something.
Right.
But this was like mind blowing. So I go home, my husband gets in there, he does his thing. He had like an old injury from the academy years ago, so his hip felt better, but my calves were amazing. Go back home that night, family barbecue, happened to be over the same weekend that my brother and the Russian decided to go and do a float for the first time. My brother's like, dude, we need like more floating in our life. And I was like, I know, we should get memberships. He's like, no, we should like open a float spa. I was like, what? He goes, I was thinking about it. This is a good plan. And I was like, well, my theory of business is, you need 2 legs to run. So you can't just have one modality of a therapy. You need to find something that complements it, or,
Right.
we need a bigger picture. We can't just do one thing. And then I was like, but this cryo thing is amazing. And my brother, it took a long time to like convince him to even try the cryotherapy because he has a really bad back. And he also, like, the floating helped him, and the floating's like nice and warm and cozy and decadent and nice and good. Cryo is like cold but effective.
Yeah.
And so after he tried it, he's like, dude, you're right. We should put both under one roof. So we were just like kind of joking, but not like really joking. We both went back and did a contract. And the whole time we were both doing our separate contracts, I was just like, wow, I'm like really tired of this many. Like, I was just tired of the job. I was tired of being on all the time. And he had kind of the same feeling. So when we got back off the ship again, we're like, okay, like for reals, like let's pencil this out and see if it's going to work. And then here we are.
So from backyard barbecue
Yes.
to here in Murrieta.
Yes.
Sitting in your spa right now.
Sitting in my spa right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just an idea.
Yeah, it was
And
just
you
an
put it
idea.
to
It
work.
wasn't, we were just looking for something literally to do on land. That was it. And the more we thought about it, the more we liked the idea of like we could kind of sculpt the type of people that we were going to be surrounding ourselves with. Because if you can make people feel better, they're happy. And I like happy people. And we'd always dealt with happy people because when you're on vacation, all those people are happy. So we knew we wanted happy people. I understand athletes, and both of us understand the competitive mindset of like, it used to be like tape it up, ice it, and play through the pain. And I mean, that was really like that mentality. Like, so I get it when somebody comes in and is like, I can't really walk on my ankle, but national cups this weekend. So like, we got 4 days. What can we do? Like, I understand where they're at, which, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be soccer. Like, I've got lots of baseball players, and, I've got a lot of professional athletes that come in here now. Motocross riders blow my mind. They're like, okay, my bone's not sticking out of my leg, but I can't walk. So what can we do? Yeah, I mean, they're unbelievable. I've got a girl that's a freestyle rider, and she's amazing. Like, the coolest thing about working here is the people.
It's like the cruise ship.
It's amazing.
You're
Yeah.
seeing everything.
Like, I've learned what it takes to be a triathlete. Like, I had no idea. It's very humbling. Also, some days I'm like, wow, I am really an underachiever. I should really do something.
With that competitive spirit, I know we didn't say anything on this, but do you love to win or do you hate to lose? Which one? Which one would you say?
I love to win.
You love to win?
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like that with the whole tippy toe thing
Right.
and
Yeah.
challenge
Yeah.
accepted.
It's I mean, losing is not fun, but I really like to win.
Yeah. Good sense of that. All right.
I'll show them.
Yeah,
Yes.
I will
You
stay
can't
on.
tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to get me to do something, is tell me I can't. Like,
Yes.
really.
So
Watch
what?
this.
So for somebody out there that doesn't know, what is cryotherapy?
So cryotherapy, if I was to explain it in the simplest form, is basically an advanced form of icing. So, or healing through cold temperature. So when you can take an area, let's say that you have an injury somewhere, and it gets super red and inflamed and it hurts and it starts to swell. The fastest way to start helping it heal is, you've probably heard of, put ice on it, right? Or
Yep.
rest, ice, heat, compression, whatever, that whole mentality. What you want to basically is just constrict and slow the blood flow to that area. So instead of throwing an ice pack on it, which can be great, but a lot of people ice incorrectly. They think that if they leave ice on longer, they're doing themselves a favor, which it's the exact opposite of that. If you ice for more than 15 minutes, your body is going to interpret that cold temperature as like an attack on your body, and it's going to start fighting that cold temperature. So it's like 15 minutes on. I usually tell people at least a half hour off when you're icing and switching on and off. But what we use is liquid nitrogen that's vaporized. So liquid nitrogen in like its liquid form stores at negative 320 degrees. That's really cold. It's the exact same stuff that you would see like if you go to a creamistry or wherever they make like they take ice cream batter and like dump nitrogen.
Speaking my language.
There's a trend going on right now.
Yeah.
We mentioned ice cream, I think, 3 times now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they instead of obviously making ice cream, we vaporize the nitrogen from liquid form, turn it into a gas, and we basically can either focus that gas on one particular area, which is like a cryotherapy spot treatment, which involves like sitting on basically a massage table or a chair. And I have my machine, I'll take a wand and it just sprays cold nitrogen over that area wherever and I do it manually so I can kind of move it and do whatever we need to do. And that's something that usually with a lot of soccer players, like if it's an ankle injury, I'll be icing it with a wand usually. If it's a shoulder injury on like my baseball or football players, basketball players, it'll be wanded. But then we have our whole body cryotherapy, which is a big like vertical chamber that you stand in. And when you're standing in it, we raise you up on a platform so that basically the caps of your shoulders peek out of the top so that your head's like safely above the vapors, right? Because it'll give you a headache if you inhale straight nitrogen.
Yes.
So we raise you up so you're totally safe and above it. And then we fill in the chamber around you, which is like a tube, with nitrogen vapors. And you're in there for anywhere from 2.5 to 3 minutes, depending on what level you pick. And it'll get you warm to help with the circulation of your blood, to get your blood moving before it gets you cold. So it really depends on each person's ache, pain, injury, or if they're just doing it to feel better. But
Now you did a demo at our daughter's Arsenal night.
yes.
And you wanded my elbow.
Yes, I did. I got it really cold.
And my swelling's gone. I'm just gonna vouch right now. So Ryan can test.
After one treatment?
After one treatment. So Ryan can attest to it. Like it looked like a golf ball that was on my
It
elbow.
was pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And
I think it was more like a baseball.
like,
It was big.
It was bursitis. Like they gave me antibiotics that weren't working, and obviously with the knee surgery and everything, like just my body was like just beat. And you like iced it with that stuff, and it's gone. Like it's not swollen, it's not squishy like it was. And that was just one maybe 10-minute treatment.
Yeah, and it's amazing what cold can do. It's something. It's all about when we deal with cryotherapy. It's all about reducing inflammation and stimulating blood flow. So this is kind of like my, I don't want to say 3rd grade version of explaining how inflammation works, but it's the easiest.
Because people don't
the
know.
easiest way to kind of wrap your head around it. And again, like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physical therapist. This is just my way of explaining it so people can understand how this whole thing works. Because it's really weird to go, okay, you're just gonna blow some cold air on me, and then I'm gonna feel better. Like,
Well,
no,
yeah.
It works.
but
I'm not gonna say that.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
you will feel better.
you'll feel
Yes.
better. I mean, it's yeah. So when I have somebody come in and they're like, I'll use a knee. My knee hurts and my knee is swollen. It's like, okay, well, we kind of figure out like, why does it hurt? Like if it was in a soccer game or if it's an arm or foot, like usually my first question is, have you been to your doctor? Have you gotten x-rays? What did they say?
Yeah.
Because I don't have x-ray vision. We gotta make sure that nothing's broken or damaged. You know, we need to know. So after we've gotten past all that information, what I will do is I'll start to ice that area and I'll get it hyper cold, hyper fast. We're talking like within 2 to 3 minutes, I'm gonna drop your temperature like vastly in that area. And what that does is it causes all of the blood cells that are underneath your knee that are like, so you got hurt, your body goes, ow, that hurts. Send in the infantry, your white blood cells, to fix that area. So the white blood cells go to work, right? And they work and they work and they work and they start healing and they have all these amazing powers and they've got oxygen and proteins and they start to fix. The problem with white blood cells is they don't know their limits. So they will literally work themselves to the point of
They're
having
overachievers.
Yeah, they are, and they have nothing left to give.
Challenge accepted. Yes.
So when they're done, healing, they've basically depleted themselves of all of their nutrients and all of the energy that they need to move out of the way. So instead what they do, instead of like getting out of the way, is they kick back and go, look how good we are at fixing that. We are so good. And they just chill there. So then your body goes, ow, it still hurts. And it sends in more white blood cells to fix that area. Well, when it sends in more white blood cells to fix that area, those new white blood cells have to fight through the crowd of all those stagnant cells that are just chilling there to actually get to where the injury is. So once those white blood cells, fight through the crowd, they're depleted. So they can't heal at 100%. So that's why usually when you get an injury, like right away, you start to feel better. You're like, wow, like I'm already starting to feel better. I'm surprised. But then like towards the end of the healing process, it just seems like it's taking forever. And it's because your knee or your foot is so congested with depleted white blood cells that it's just they have to fight through so much to actually heal. So by getting that area super cold, super fast, all of those blood cells that are just like chilling there go, whoa, that's really cold. And they just like that, whoa. And they get really, really small. And basically your circulatory system will pull those blood cells out of the way because they're tiny and they're easy to move. So then you have this nice clean house where your new white blood cells are going, ow, it still hurts. They come in and get right back to work. So that's why I usually tell people when I'm dealing with an injury, like an active injury, not one that you've necessarily had for, years, which that's a different process, it usually takes me about 3 times within a 10-day period. Because if I let's say I'm really good and I get all the inflammation out in one treatment, the minute that you take a step or you get into your truck or whatever, or you sit down, you're going to start aggravating that area and rebuilding the inflammation. So if you kind of space it out over a 3-day period, we can get ahead of the inflammation, and hopefully that way it's just pure healing that's happening and no like congestion of the area.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's my simplest explanation.
For those overachievers out there, so three sessions over a 10-day period.
Yeah.
Would it benefit them more to come maybe every day?
I have
Or-
that. I
yeah.
do have, it depends on what we're working on. So, and I'll always ask all of my athletes, like, what's our timeline here? Like, what's your training schedule? Do you have, are you doing speed and agility? Like, it depends on what the injury is. And when's your next game? Like, when do you actually want to be, like, suited up and on the field? Because a conversation I frequently have with players is like, look, if you're injured, you're not going to become a worse player by sitting out one practice.
Right.
But you will become a worse player if you keep playing at 70% for the next 2 months.
So you're promoting rest at the same time.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily like, hey, like I got a game Sunday, I need to be out there. Like, hey,
Yeah.
let's
And
reality.
and there is
Yeah.
some where it's like, look, if you tell me that it's, state cup finals, national cup finals, if it's a big deal, like, okay, like I'm very pro movement. Like I want everybody to be playing as much as possible. Like my goal is to keep you playing and active because that's the healthiest way you can be.
Right.
But sometimes, I mean, if you pull a major muscle, you're going to have a little downtime there. We can shave that downtime considerably down, but you're going to have to give yourself a break. So
what's the difference between ice and heat? You hear people say heating pad, ice it. Like, what's the difference?
So they work together.
Okay.
I mean, so when you ask that question, it's kind of like a loaded question.
Yeah.
Only because everybody usually feels very strongly about it. And I'm one where, like, we talk about medicines, like Eastern versus Western medicine. I'm not committed to either. I believe that whatever works is whatever works, and every body is totally different. When it comes to heat and ice, my belief is that you need to do them together. You need them to complement each other. It can't just be one, because when I ice an area, I chase out inflammation, but the one thing that you need to do is what you want to have happen is you want new healthy white blood cells to go right back into that area. So that's where the heat comes in.
That's where
because
heat comes in.
the one thing that white blood cells love is heat.
Okay.
So what I usually send my players home with is like homework. It's very simple. I'll ice you, I'll clean house, I'll make it all pretty and everything's nice in there. And then basically I tell them, mostly it's kids, so I tell them you need to go throw a party right in that area that I just iced. So I tell them, take a hot cloth, get it wet, throw it in the microwave, get it really wet, really hot, and then just drape it over that area. And what that does is it kind of signals for your body where you need to be sending more white blood cells to. So that's my opinion on icing and heating. But I mean, you want to do both, but they gotta complement each other. But the biggest thing is just if you're using an ice pack, not more than 15 minutes. That's a big thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the cryo
Yes.
portion of your business.
Yes.
So what is this float?
Oh, it's like the best thing.
The best thing.
It's the best thing. It's the best thing that you can do, whether you're an athlete, a mom, dad, grandparent. It's the best thing that you can do for yourself. If you look at our lives, and when I say our lives, I mean everybody, like whether they're kids that know how to work iPhones or if they're, just people that are working every day with like, a smartphone, a tablet, computer, GPS, like all the smart devices, we're constantly under like hyperstimulation. Like everything's like trigger, 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 trigger. That creates a lot of stress on your body and on your mind. Like some people have like attention, I have a hard time paying attention. Well, do you? Or is it just that there's so many things getting your attention? So with floating, there's physical and mental benefits. I will say as a mom, like I've got a 1.5-year-old, I thoroughly enjoy my downtime in a float tank because there's zero stimulation. So when you go into a float tank, we have 3 here. Ours aren't traditional float tanks. Ours are, I don't want to say the upgraded version, but they're kind of like the upgraded version, just that they're actually float suites. And the reason that we did that is because the people that are coming in here, a lot of them are injured, and they have mobility issues, or you have people who are elderly that can't as easily climb in and out of a tank. So ours are like a big, gigantic bathtub. with a glass shower door. So that way, if anybody's claustrophobic, you won't feel like you're climbing into a little like box. And when you get into one of our float tanks, inside there is anywhere, I mean, we don't have like a specific measurement, we have like a range. It's anywhere between 1,000 up to 1,200 pounds of Epsom salt inside each one of our float tanks.
That's more than the 5 pounds I put in my bathtub.
Significantly, that's why
Yes.
like I laugh when I read like the back of like an Epsom salt bag and they're like, put 1 cup in. I'm like, why? Like it just seems like we literally order pallets of salt, like like the mulch pallets you see outside like Home
Yep.
Depot in the
Yeah.
spring. Yeah, we get like salt pallets here because we have to keep our salt levels so high.
Right.
Now there's tons of benefits to having that much salt surrounding your body. Now when it comes to floating, when you sit down in our float tank, the water stays at body temperature the entire time that you're in there. But when you sit down and you lay back, your body just goes up to the top and you literally are suspended on the top of the water, completely weightless. You're not touching anything. The water completely supports your body. So you don't have to have any tension in your neck. You don't have to keep oxygen in your lungs. You don't have to keep your body stiff or tight or flexed. You literally just float there.
Is that a
And
weird
do-
feeling the first time?
Yes,
Yes.
it totally is. There's a lot of things that happen on people's first floats. Everybody's is very different. I have some people that are like, there is no way I can stay in there an hour by myself. And then we're like trying to wake them up because they like fall asleep.
Is it easy to fall asleep?
Oh yeah,
When you're that relaxed, I bet.
I used to
Yeah.
joke, like I'm only kind of joking, like we specialize in naps. It's like the best nap you'll ever take. It's amazing. I have people that walk in, a lot of coaches are like, I'm here for a nap.
Nap.
I'm like, we can do naps around here.
Naps are underrated.
Is it safe to take a nap in water?
It is. There's only 10 inches of water in there. And there's no way that you could, people always, can we drown? No. 1, there's 10 inches of water. 2, there's 1,200 pounds of salt. Like if you try to roll over, your eyeballs will let you know. Like you
Yeah,
can't.
that's not gonna
Right.
be a pleasant
Yeah, like there's
experience.
no way that you could like fall asleep and flip over and drown. Like it's not a thing.
Right.
Not to mention it's almost impossible to like if you're like a toss and turner, like you don't have any leverage because you're floating. So
Right.
so when you go to like roll, like the water just moves, so you just stay there. But the first float you play like I call it human ping pong. That happens a lot. Even like some of my like yogi gurus that come in here that have like a really amazing meditative practice, that first float for them is a very weird experience because nothing's touching you and it's like zero gravity on your body. So you play what I call human ping pong because you'll feel like, you can black out the room so it's completely dark, but you'll feel like you're drifting to the right and then like your left foot will touch the bottom of the tank. And you're like, just kidding, I was drifting left. Like you lose like a complete sensation of like any orientation whatsoever. And then in our rooms we have music that plays, but it gets softer through the float and then we wake you up at the end with music. And some people really love having music on, so you can control that in there as well. But I have a lot of people that by their second float, they'll just black out the music completely and literally be like in nothingness. So it's incredible. Now, the salt, being weightless, allows your lymphatic system, which is kind of like the sewage system of your body, to be completely optimized. Like there's zero restriction on it, so you can flush out a lot of like lactic acid or toxins or whatever your body's trying to like filter out and get rid of. It'll be able to naturally be pulled out of your body through your lymphatic. But what the players love and what the athletes love is all that like day after muscle soreness kind of goes away. And a lot of people have heard the remedy of like, oh, if you're sore, take an Epsom salt soak. Well, that comes down to magnesium. And most people, especially active people, tend to be a little bit deficient, some very deficient, with their magnesium levels. That is not something I was ever taught in like, elementary, like, oh, watch your magnesium. Like, no,
No.
that was not a thing. But when you're in those float tanks, you're completely surrounded by all that Epsom salt is magnesium. I feel really good. And it's like, well, yeah, you just leveled yourself out. You didn't even know that you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for people that have like hips get really, really tight. I have a lot of my players come in because their hips are really, really tight from running or doing speed and agility or plyometrics or whatever training they're doing. But also if you have like lower back pain, when you're laying weightless, like even if you have the best mattress in the world and you're laying back, you still have contact pressure, right? Where your tailbone hits and then you have that arch up in your back and then, in your mid back where your back is actually touching but there's still gravity and compression on your spine and your vertebrae, at least in those 2 points. And that's assuming that you have a perfect bed for your body. When you're in the float tank, there's no restriction. Like if your spine wants to curve all the way down and go to the left, the water's going to let that happen.
Right.
So people who have like extreme back pain or have had like trauma to their back or have a slip disc, herniated disc, sciatic pain, they describe it to me, and I don't have chronic back pain, so I don't know. The way that it's been described to me by more than one person is that when they're laying in there and they finally relax, because it takes a little while to like settle into the fact that you're just going to float, but they can feel like the little muscles that go down your spine, and I don't even know if they are the little muscles, but that's how they describe it. It's like there's like this flicking, and it feels like their spine's just like clicking open, and it's like their whole spine can like take an exhale of like, ah, finally that gravity's off me.
So from a relaxation point, obviously the parents, people with back problems, who else does it benefit?
It benefits, okay, so we've got the parents and the relaxation and everything, yes. The athletes for sure, because it'll help with the muscle soreness. Usually the way that it kind of works with some of the kids around here, if they're healthy, they'll come in and do the whole body cryo. Like it's usually like a 3-to-1 is what I tell people. But then you have people that benefit from, if they have fibromyalgia is one of my big floaters. They float a lot just because their nerves are always like going all over the place. It takes all that away. So that really helps a lot of their pain. I have a lot of people that are recovering from or living with PTSD. So that helps like on a neurological level. Okay. People who have, whether it's, stress, anxiety, depression, insomnia, some people that are just trying to get rid of bad habits, like they're trying to, switch, stop smoking or whatever they're trying to do, they'll come and float for those reasons as well. It helps everyone. It's just, it depends on what your body takes from the experience.
Right. It's just something you need to experience. It's not like you have to have a problem.
No, definitely. No, I've got tons of healthy people that come in just because it's nice. Like you don't have to be in pain to want a massage. It just feels good.
That's what I mean. It's just, that's what people usually associate with like massage or something, like something has to hurt or something has to be wrong for me to do it. But this is just like, hey, like.
And just to shut down.
Take time out.
Yeah, people think that they have, like you said, they have to be hurt to deserve a massage.
Right.
Okay, or you could just be tired.
Yeah.
Or you just want to do something that's going to feel good because it's going to make you happier. Like that's what I notice with some of like my moms that come in and they've got 4 kids or whatever, and like I can always tell like the husband's home early one night and they come like running over here like, can I please float? Can I please float? And they just need to decompress. Like they just need to relax, and being able to be in there, like, I don't like to do statistics and numbers, but it's like, they say like 1 hour in a float tank will give you as much restorative brain waves as up to like 8 hours of sleep. Like, it's not going to replace 8 hours of sleep.
Yes.
However, your brain actually switches brain waves that are produced when you're in there because you remove all the stimulus. You're almost like forced into a meditative state. So instead of producing alpha beta brain waves, which is like your intake and your response waves where you process everything, you start to produce theta waves, which are the most restorative brain wave that your body can produce, but it's also one of the hardest for your body to produce. So normally, if you were to get, and I don't know if anybody that ever gets this, but let's just say that you had a perfect, uninterrupted 8 hours of sleep, and you woke up naturally.
That would be amazing.
Without an alarm clock. Okay, so you just...
Wait, you guys don't do that?
Yeah, that's...
Oh.
Yeah, I wish. I have kids. No. But when you sleep for 8 hours and you wake up without having an alarm clock, there's about a 12 to 15 minute period right before you wake up that your body will start to produce theta waves. In a float tank, and they do all kinds of different studies, you can read about it online, they put all these patches on your brain while you're in there, your brain in a 60-minute float can produce up to 45 minutes of theta waves, which is incredible. And that's why a lot of people that, like my artists, my musicians, poets, like creative thinkers, some of the most famous people today, like they float as a regular practice because it opens up a different part of their brain, kind of like a meditative practice would.
Right.
Just brings you back to level.
Is there an age limit for floating?
Not with floating. No. So traditionally in our float tanks, you float in the nude. Each room has its own private shower, so you shower before you float, and then you shower after your float because you're covered in salt.
Yes.
When my kids come, or any kids come to float, I usually, they'll want to bring a bathing suit. I always warn mom/dad or whoever's bringing them, like when they float in a bathing suit, the only thing you have to worry about is like really washing that bathing suit out because it's like super salty.
Right.
Bring not your favorite.
Yeah, just bring like, bring the fun bathing suit, not like your fancy one or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I usually will encourage like my little guys to wear goggles the first time, but I've got 7 and 8 year olds that will come and float. And they float so much now they don't bring their goggles anymore, and that's only because if you get salt in your eyes, it burns. There's no other reason for the goggles.
Just 'cause you're kids and you want to try it out.
Yeah, and they want to splash or they want to see what the salt looks like and that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but there's no age limit on the floating. That's the youngest I've had is 7. In our whole body cryotherapy tank, the standard age is 14. to get in the big whole body one. However, we can be flexible on that. It really has to do with height and maturity, because you have to be at least 5 foot to get in there, because I have to be able to lift you up high enough. And then with spot treatments, anybody and everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I got people from 7 to 87 right now. So
Now I have my father-in-law is supposed to have carpal tunnel surgery.
okay.
So his hands are super bad right now.
Yeah.
He has like he can't like grasp things and pick things up, I guess, because it's like pins and needles. Like,
Yeah.
does the spot treatment help?
The spot treatment would help. It depends on is he having surgery just down in his hands, or if it's going up into his shoulders, then we probably need to look at maybe putting him in the whole body. But usually with carpal tunnel or with arthritis, those are my big ones as far as like grown-up issues. It's usually a lot of people have pain in their hands from computers, from driving, from texting, from working, whatever it may be. But yeah, the spot treatment on your hands definitely would help. Like I've had people, my own grandfather, who's a total like cowboy skeptic, right? He's like, you and your frou-frou, like what, you want to do what? He has really bad arthritis in his hands, and he likes to work, do like woodworks or, make stuff. But he hasn't been able to do it for years because his hands got so swollen from the arthritis.
Right.
He couldn't like pick up a pen or hold a screwdriver. Like that was just no longer in the cards for him. So when we were, I think right at the end of construction last year, he came by just to check it out or whatever. And after like 20 minutes of negotiating, I finally got him to let me work on his hands. And I worked on both of his hands for much longer than I would normally work on someone's hands in one session, but it was like 20 minutes. And when I was working on him, like by the time he was done, he was so excited because he could sign his name on a piece of paper. And he just walked around like the whole spot and just kept picking things up because he wasn't able to hold anything. Like and it was like that for like, I think at least a month. And that's, if you stay on top of it, like you can get a lot of mobility back. It just, and every person's really different too. A lot of it depends on like how good are you going to be about like coming in and taking care of it with arthritis.
Yeah.
The whole body cryotherapy chamber, it wasn't originally designed for athletes. It was designed for people that had RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and they needed to basically freeze the whole body at once is what they were trying to do to get rid of the inflammation in the joints. Well, a byproduct of that was they started realizing like, oh,
there's some other benefits.
Look
to
at
this.
all these other
Yeah.
amazing
Right.
benefits. Like all of a sudden we're burning 500 to 800 calories. All of a sudden we're able to, have a little bit more mobility when your back is sore if you pulled a muscle. There's a whole bunch of other side effects of, fixing rheumatoid arthritis that benefits athletes across the board.
Huh.
That's pretty
So
cool.
yeah, I think he needs to come down. He's worse off than I am. He's a hot mess, and he needs to be cooled down. So
Going back to the float, is there a limit on how often you can float?
There is not a limit. Usually, so if somebody's going to come in and float, I have people usually kind of seem to treat floating if they're not in pain. They will treat floating as they treat like massage or a spot or a facial or whatever. So maybe once a month. Some people it's once a week if they are in pain. I have a couple of people that when they were like some people, I've had people come in that can't like turn their head, crazy pain in their neck, can't move, and they're just like, I don't know, I've tried everything, I haven't tried this, so give me your best shot. Yeah. And so they'll float like every other day. I've had some people that float, 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. If people want to float more than once in a day, which we have people that will come and do like our whole body cryotherapy, like they'll do it twice a day before and after workouts. Those are more like the more elite athletes, but they beat their bodies up, so we let them do whatever they want. We'll fix them. But when it comes to floating, rather than floating like 2 sessions in a day, they'll just float for a longer period because it's really about getting into that meditative state. And the benefit for that on like a, on a brain level, if you can stay in that meditative state, you can get deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's where we start having like a normal float, 60 minutes. We have a 90-minute that a lot of people will do. It seems like it's a long time, but after you float about 3 times, you kind of lose all track of time anyways. But then we'll have people that will do like back-to-backs where they want to float 3 hours or they want to float, apparently they have a lot of free time because I would love to have 3 hours to float, but no. So yeah, there's no maximum, as much as you want.
Yeah.
on the float, what do you do with the water? Like, does it stay in there? Like,
No, so
yeah, it's a community. It's a community tub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
it's
Right.
So we get that question a lot
It's
because
salt,
everyone's like,
so I mean, it's like,
Yeah, it kills everything, right?
well,
I don't think anything can live.
no,
Yes.
nothing can actually live in there.
Yeah.
That's the truth. It's like the Dead Sea, like literally, it's
Salton Sea.
It's just cleaner than that. But yeah,
Oh.
I mean, it is not compatible. Like that salt content is not compatible with life, like in any form. However, they're like for my own sanity, like we had to go beyond the standard and be extra clean because that's really important, especially when you spend your life working with thousands of people on cruise ships. Things need to be clean. So what we have on each one of our tanks, the filter that we have on our tank is, we've got 10 inches of water in an 8-foot tub, right? It's really not a lot of water. Each filter on each tank can actually clean an Olympic-sized pool. So it's like a super duty, like crazy filter that's modified for salt water. Okay. And then it has a microparticle filter on the inside as well as an ozone plasma that's put into the water. So basically between the floats, all the water gets pulled out, filtered, cleaned, sterilized, and then goes back in.
It's like a saltwater swimming pool.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. It's just so, I mean, it's super, super clean, but everyone always asks that question, like, well, how does it work?
Right.
So.
Very clean. How often do you have to add salt?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Hence the pellet.
Yeah, it depends on how busy we are also. Because, after you float, like we always tell people, like, hey, like try and like do the human squeegee and push the water off your body before you step out of the tank. And that literally is just to make like your life easier, because when you're trying to shower off salt water, it's like an Olympic sport. Yep. So if you push it off your body first, for some reason it makes the showering a lot easier. But even so, you're still going to track salt out of there. And then the amount of salt that's in there, because the water stays warm, like not like hot, but like warm the entire time, right. You have like a normal evaporation rate. So whenever I add water, I have to add salt. So we add salt, probably balance the salt every day. But like truly go in and have to add salt is probably weekly. Usually on Mondays when we do our deep cleaning, that's the day that we're closed. Okay. We'll do all like the big time salt loading on that day because it's really messy. It's really messy. I always look like I came out of a battlefield when we do deep cleaning. It's just because we take, we'll take the pipes off, we'll take the filters off, and salt crystallizes, and salt crystals is basically like a handful of razor blades. So they're really sharp, so you got to get all these crazy gloves, and it's fun. It's a sporting day. Mm-hmm. Don't have to go to the gym on Monday.
Right,
I just work here.
Yes. What is our next question? Oh, someone's phone's ringing.
Oh,
is that a phone?
It's the front desk. It's fine. Oh. They're good.
Let's see. We're fine because we can edit some of this.
Where are we at? Let's say, explain water filtration. We already did that.
Anything you want to talk about that we haven't covered?
No.
What?
I feel like I've talked a lot. I tend to talk a lot.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's getting the word out for your business.
Okay, so let's jump back to soccer.
Go back to.
So jumping back to soccer, soccer related jumping back to soccer, what soccer related injuries are you seeing? Like what's the most like kids are coming in for? Right now I'm pretty much working on knees, a lot of knees. Okay. And knees always get a bad rap because everyone's like, oh, I have bad knees. It's like, well, you don't necessarily have bad knees, but your knee is in between two major joints that aren't always, like, is it a bad knee or do you have like weak hips and weak ankles?
Right.
That's why I always preach like cross training, because if you can strengthen your joints, you'll be less prone to injury. I mean, that's pretty standard practice. But when it comes to the one that I saw the most of that really stands out was when the weather changed. So we opened in the middle of September last year, and it stayed warm until about the beginning of November. And so a lot of the injuries I was getting, I was like, oh, knee, ankle, like I rolled my knee, I blew out my knee, whatever, something happened. As soon as the weather changed, almost everybody came in with pulled quads and hamstrings.
Huh,
and I was like, that's weird. And the only thing that I could kind of figure out that must have changed was the temperature of which they were practicing at night. So when you have wet cold, because wet cold is very different than dry cold. That's the difference between an ice bath and a cryo chamber. Like if you have wet cold weather, if the kids were doing their standard warm-ups that they had been doing all summer long and they didn't adjust for that, or they didn't get their bodies warmer and stretch while they were warmer, I'm thinking that maybe that's what was leading to all these pulls. Because none of them were serious injuries, but it was all a pull. Like it was just, I think I pulled my hip, I think I pulled my groin. And it was like right when the weather changed. It was really interesting. I was like, oh, note to self.
Right.
Because I'll start reminding people this year, like, hey, don't forget, like, when the weather changed, like, stretches have to change too.
Could it be that kids aren't stretching enough and they're kind of getting away with it during warmer weather?
Probably.
I mean, because you always see that. You see that a lot when
exactly.
The kid
that's actually a very good point.
Isn't taking it as serious as the other kid. They're not, doing the butt kicks or whatever.
Right.
And it's amazing, those little things. Like, but kids also, I try to help spread that word a lot too, saying like, most important thing that you can do is stretch. and kids don't take it serious. Like, I'm a big
Yeah.
supporter of, like, I know there's different opinions, but I'm a big supporter of, foam rolling, or using like a marathon stick and stretching through, lengthening. Like, it's important, especially these kids are so active. Like, if you think of like when we were in high school or we were playing sports as a kid, look at our schedule compared to what the kids do now. Like,
Right.
stretching, they should be stretching all the time.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It
They're,
is.
the anatomy of the body hasn't changed.
Come
Right.
on in.
You're fine.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all,
Yeah.
you're good.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you're totally fine. That's Derek. He's amazing.
Hello, Derek.
Hi,
Hey
Derek.
guys, how are you? Good morning.
As far as the injuries, are you seeing a difference between injuries that maybe a boy has versus a girl? Are they pretty much the same?
They're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I can't really say that I see a big difference between the boys and the girls. I do a lot more upper body therapies on the boys, but I think that's just because you figure in like water polo, which
There's
I have girl
others,
water
yeah,
polo, but they
right.
play different sports, and just what I do see a lot of though is a lot of growing pains. I had a parent come to me. Kid was playing high school soccer and club soccer and indoor soccer and futsal. And so the kid was super active anyway, but his knees were killing him, and he didn't have an injury. He was a goalie, and so he wasn't doing like a lot of running during the game, but his knees were killing him. And I'm like, I think he's gonna grow. She's like, well, do you think you can help? I'm like, maybe. Like, it's worth a shot. And this kid, he swears by it. He said it was amazing. Like, cause he was right on the cusp of a growth spurt as well.
Okay.
But apparently, like, the cold helps with growing pains as well. I don't know the science of why it helps. I think it's just, kind of alleviating pain in an area,
Right.
maybe. But yeah.
I believe that's going back to Oshkin's
Schlatters.
I think we were talking
Yes.
about with Megan.
Yes,
The
it
growing
is.
pains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what WebMD says, at least.
Yes, Google says this is what I
Yes,
have.
right.
I get that a lot. Well, I Googled it. I'm like, all right, well, if you Googled it.
It also said I had cancer, and unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, as far as pain tolerance, we're gonna boys versus girls. Who's the bigger
Oh.
wimp when they come in here as far as pain or being able to tolerate the cold, maybe?
Okay, tolerate the cold. Because
Yes.
pain's relative.
Yes.
But when it comes to cold, currently, and this is only currently, I will say that when I put my older, high school athletes in the whole body cryo chamber, which we get a ton of them, they might still, I think they're probably as cold, but they're a little bit more composed about it.
Right.
When the boys come in, they're usually here as a group, and it's theatrical. It's the best word I got. It's
Yeah.
it's awesome though. It's like my favorite afternoon, like Friday afternoons.
Oh, I bet it's great.
'Cause it's
Yes.
like the charades that are happening on the half of the spot with the big cryo tank. It's like, I'm usually over on the spot treatment chair. Usually that's where I am all day. But like, I just hear like different comments or whatever, and they're all Snapchatting and
Right.
videoing and turn that off, and it's hilarious. So.
I was gonna ask you on the whole float thing with the toxins.
Mhm.
How's that come with a hangover? Someone has like a bad hangover, that work out
So-
with them?
Floating in a hangover, I have.
For the parents listening.
I wouldn't. Yeah, for
Yes.
the grown-ups.
Yes.
Floating in a hangover, there's nothing to suggest that it's going to help.
Okay.
However, cryotherapy, the whole body in a hangover,
Yeah.
is
Oh.
definitely the quickest fix around.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, because when you're in the whole body chamber, the way that the science of this works, it does still the whole thing of like constricting the blood cells and circulation and removing inflammation. That's all true. Same science as the spot treatment. However, this one over here, the big one, operates different. So it fakes your body out because you get so cold so fast and it's your entire body. Your body thinks that you're going to go into hypothermic shock. So your body's natural response to that is, we need to protect all of our vital organs, take all the blood from our body, shove it into the core, keep the organs warm. Well, you're not bleeding out, right? So when your body pulls all the blood from your extremities and shoves it into your core, all that super healthy, clean, hydrated, oxygenated blood gets sent out to your body, and all the blood that needs to be filtered is all like at a rapid pace shoved into your core. So it's basically like a real quick remedy for a hangover.
So party at Frost and Float.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Or after party.
After party,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
I've had a lot of people like, does it really work for hangover? Yes. Like, it's really hard sometimes, I think, for people to be like, oh, I feel terrible, but okay, I'll do it. And they do, and they feel a lot better. It's like shocking. Not that I'm promoting hangovers, but I can fix things.
Nice.
So we've got a lot of player listeners, parents that need that break. If they want to come in here, Do you have any type of special or anything?
We do. So for our players or for like family of our players, as long as I know that they play for a club or that they're active, like we just want to
Or if they
active
mention
living.
SDR,
Or if they
Soccer
mention,
Dad
yes.
Radio.
Exactly.
Yes.
They mentioned that. We have like a 15% off on basically any of our treatments, as long as they mention you guys,
Cool.
or they tell me what club or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And then we always have our student rates. So normally like a 60-minute float is $60 for adults. We have packages obviously beyond that, but for our students it's only $40 for an hour. And then for our whole body cryotherapy, instead of being $65, like a first time whole body cryotherapy is $40, but our players are always $25.
So that's
Oh,
cool.
that's
You're
awesome.
giving back to the
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
and the
it's about
kids.
keeping everyone healthy. I mean,
Mhm.
that's really that's kind of where I've kind of fallen into. Like, I didn't really, when we opened this place, it's not like we had a blueprint, right? Like, it came out of, a weekend of barbecues and discussions. It wasn't.
Hey,
you know,
sounds like our podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
Which we
that's where all the
still-
great ideas come from,
We
right?
still
Yes.
haven't. I need to. Maybe I don't know if you can see it on the video. We're still zip tying a mic. We
Okay.
got a third mic finally because we did improve audio after Megan's. Ryan is very vocal and he sounded like he was in a closet sometimes. So we did get a third mic, but we did not get a third mic stand. So it is currently zip tied to the tripod that
It
Jenna
works.
is using.
And I just ordered it from Amazon, another stand, so
Yeah.
we'll be here on Saturday.
So it works, but yeah, it's just having an idea and just executing on it. Really,
Yeah,
Just doing
just
it.
going with it. And that's been like one of the things that I didn't anticipate was how rewarding it is to be able to give back to everybody and keep everybody healthy and like it's amazing when you meet somebody who's, if their passion is running and all of a sudden they can't run because they have an injury, like it's emotionally and physically debilitating. Like
Yeah,
they just kind of
right.
you can see it on them. So it's like the glimmer of hope of like, well, shoot, this could make me better. It's an amazing experience being on our side of it too. Or like, you tell your kid to ice, go ice your elbow. You really think they're gonna ice their elbow?
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's the big difference too. Like, well, I have a lot of parents. Well, I could just, give them an ice pack. You can. You can't get them as cold as fast. It's not going to be as effective as what I do. And the real question usually is, do you think they're really going to do
The
it?
accountability.
Yeah,
you know
like-
it's getting done when you walk through that front door.
Exactly. Like it will be done.
Yes.
It'll be done right. And it'll be done
Right.
fast. I mean, a spot treatment on average takes 5 to 8 minutes, and it's dry. So like my ladies that come for like a cryotherapy facial, like I get the phone call.
Wait,
You can do this over makeup. Like
wait, a cryo
therapy facial. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's well, especially right now, like that's the big hot one, especially because it's getting really hot outside.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a cryotherapy facial, we lay you back and we use the same machine that I use spot treatments with, different technique, different level. And we expose your skin to nitrogen vapors, and our facial isn't focused on cleaning your skin. Our focus is healing your skin from the inside out. So basically, I hypercool the area of your face, causing the blood cells that are right
Same
below
thing,
your
blood cells,
Yep,
yeah.
blood
Yep.
cells constrict,
Yep.
get really, really small, and then about an hour after the facial, those blood cells will go back to like their normal dilation. They'll reopen up, but when they open, they act like a bunch of tiny little vacuums. So what they do is they pull the proteins, vitamins, oxygen, minerals, nutrients, everything that your skin craves that you produce in your core is literally shoved up underneath your dermal layer, so that your skin cells, your hair follicles, will basically get to have like a feeding frenzy on everything that they want. It'll tighten up your pores, it reduces fine lines and wrinkles, it boosts collagen production for like 10 days, and it takes like 10 minutes, and you can do it over makeup because it's dry. So we get like lunchtime facials. When we first got the machine, so training, learning, we bought that machine before we bought anything else, and my parents are wonderful humans who let me just keep the machine in their living room, because you see it's not a very aesthetically pleasing machine,
Mhm.
but it's like this huge thing that just sits in their living room. But I was practicing mostly on myself because I was like, okay, I gotta get this down, like I want it to be comfortable, like there's a way to hold the hose. And what I didn't realize was, like, because I was doing facials on myself like multiple times a day, I had all these like baby hairs. Like I thought my hair was breaking on my hairline, and then I realized that it wasn't my hair that was breaking, it was
Your
all
hair.
these
It
baby
was
hair.
promoting.
Yeah. Like, so now I'll do like, scalp treatments on people, and like, I can kind of, and basically what was happening is all these vitamins and proteins and nutrients were getting delivered to these hair follicles. It pretty much never got me, and they're like, oh look, we can grow hair too. So I had,
Hey, bald
yeah, I had like
guys.
little,
Right.
I had this like fuzzy little like ring over my face. I was like, that's awesome. That's a good look.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, with it being, this isn't going to get out for Mother's Day, but it doesn't need to be Mother's Day for a
No.
player to take care of their mom
Yeah, spoil mom.
or their dad.
Yes, mom drives
Yes.
you to a lot of soccer practices,
Yeah.
Dad.
a lot of football practice, and baseball practice.
Dad.
You
And dad.
definitely- Yeah,
Dad
there's
stands at a lot of
there's
practices,
plenty of
too.
time for Father's Day coming up. All those soccer dads out there.
For sure.
They could
Oh,
definitely
guess
use-
what? We'll be on a soccer field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be
up in Davis, California.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Nowhere I'd
that's
rather
what you
be.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
on Father's
absolutely.
Day. Yeah,
I wouldn't
for sure.
have Father's Day any other way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we will be podcasting for sure.
We will.
We'll find someone to talk to.
Speaking of kind of the mobile aspect, are you at events? Will we see you at some soccer tournaments or at different events?
That is the plan for this
Okay.
coming season. Yeah, I will be. Hopefully, I've got to kind of get our schedule dialed in. But I do a lot of events. When I go to an event, I usually will take the spot treatment machine. If it's an outdoor event, we'll do like quick cools where I can, because you know how hot it gets.
Oh yeah.
So imagine like you just stand for a minute and I can literally cool your entire like head, shoulders, neck. So I'll do like quick cools, I'll do spot treatments. I usually will bring my rock tape kit with me because some people need like, the rock tape, like mobility taping done. But yeah, I'll be out there. I haven't quite nailed down the schedule yet, but it'll be all over our social media.
You guys are at a winery today.
Yes,
So you're
we're
at an
off to a
event
winery for a pre-Mother's Day
thing.
facial thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be
Mixed
outside.
with wine.
Mixed with
Ooh.
facials and
Yes.
wine. It's not a bad day.
There you go.
Can someone jump on your website and see where
Yeah,
you're going to be? Like
wherever
these
we're going to
events
be,
and stuff?
I always post. Yeah.
What's the website?
You can go to frostandfloat.com,
Okay.
or it's better just to go to our Facebook page, which is just Frost and Float. That way,
And spelled out.
Frost and Float. Yeah,
Yes.
totally spelled
Okay.
out.
And Instagram as well.
Instagram also Frost and Float. It's all Frost and Float.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We got lucky. Yeah, we got lucky that way.
And what are your hours here?
So here at the spa, we are open traditionally, provided I'm not at an event or something. Tuesday through Friday, we're here from 10 till 6,
Okay.
meaning that our last float of the day starts at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So if we have a 6 o'clock float, then we'll just keep the whole spot open during the duration of that float, which is, basically an hour or 2 hours, depending on how long they're floating.
Okay.
Or if we don't have any 6 o'clock floats booked, which is not very common, but if we don't, then we'll close at 6 o'clock. But a lot of people, especially like where we're located, because we're right at like Murrieta Hot Springs, like Murrieta Hot Springs gets really crazy with traffic.
Yes.
So I have a lot of people like, if you call and you say, hey, like, if you call me at 5:55 saying I'm on my way, I'm sitting in traffic, like,
Mhm.
we'll be here.
We get it.
We
Yeah.
accommodate. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
So just to
And then-
jump on that, she's east of the 215 freeway on Murrieta Hot Springs, right at the intersection of Murrieta
Yeah.
and Murrieta Hot Springs, right?
Where
Right.
the Sonic's at.
We're by Sonic. That's what
Yeah.
I tell everyone. I'm like, we're by Sonic. You can find Sonic. You can find us.
Right by Sonic. And then the weekend hours,
From 11 till 3.
11 to 3, and
Yeah.
we're closed on Mondays.
And we're closed on Mondays.
That's
yes.
the deep
the
clean, the super
battlefield
clean,
in the
yes.
back. Yeah, the cleaning.
Yep. Is there a phone number where they can reach you as well, or
Yeah.
is social the best? way?
No, the phone number is easy. It's 951-291-1291.
Oh, easy
Oh.
enough.
Yeah,
Nice.
easy enough. Yeah, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we pretty much answer. I mean, I get messages on Facebook. I get messages. Wherever you guys get to us, that's
Mhm.
we're all over it right now. So we kind of just answer whatever's convenient for listeners.
Very
That's great.
cool.
I'm going to jump on the video camera, and she's going to give us a walkthrough, and we'll post that on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
So that way you can kind of put, a picture. I work better with pictures.
Yeah, and it's
so
the
way
stuff
you
that
can
we do.
see
I
it.
mean, I always tell them like everything we do here is weird, so
Yeah.
you kind of need to see it to be able to understand it. But yeah,
Mhm.
we can.
Yeah,
show
so we'll
few
do a
things.
walkthrough, kind of show you guys what's going on. But
We'll actually throw that up on the website too.
Yeah,
the
we can put it on the
SoccerDad,
website, too.
SoccerDadRadio.com. We'll throw that video up there.
yeah, and we
Yep.
will be, and speaking of extra content, we'll be at Man City Cup at the end of the month, and we've actually had some questions of people asking stuff, so we're gonna try to address some of those questions on another interview. And if you happen to be Man City Cup, come by and find us. Like we have
Yes.
Soccer Dad Radio. We're super cheesy, like our kids make fun of us, but we like what we're doing.
They
We're
just
having
don't
fun.
understand how cool you are.
We have T-shirts. We have swag now.
Yeah, come find
Yes.
us though. We'd love to talk to you guys, and if you do have questions, like let us know, and then we can address those with coaches. We're trying to reach out to more coaches, more stuff like this with Jenna, because there's a lot of good info out there that can be used. Like I had no idea, honestly, that white blood cells were overachievers, and learned a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff. I think one of my takeaways was the terminology that we learned, the on land, as
Important terms.
reference, and then also the Russian.
The
I mean,
Russian.
yes.
You need to, I think you're
I
going to
think
need
we
to meet
bring-
the Russian.
We are.
We need to bring the
Yes.
Russian on.
Yeah, that would be a.
intrigued.
She's hilarious, and she's Russian. I mean, she is as authentic as you can get.
That's
She's-
awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe the Russian at the winery with a podcast.
Russian strength wine.
Well,
She's
Talk
Russian.
over.
Yeah, they drink.
Big.
They just drink.
They just
Yes.
drink.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
They're, yes,
Mhm.
very social people.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just trying to be
Cool.
correct. All right. Well, thank you, Jenna.
Yes, thank you. Thanks,
for
guys.
having us on. And you guys can follow us on the social platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It's all Soccer Dad Radio. It's getting hard to keep track of all these now.
Yes. SoccerDadRadio.com.
SoccerDadRadio.com. Actually, I was watching some Twitch stuff the other day. I think it'd
Yes.
be fun if we started a Twitch channel just every now and then and did a live one. So that way, like,
Oh,
we
we will
did this
do.
interview and
Yeah.
we did it live, and people could actually like kind of see
We'll bring that.
what's going on.
Is that different than Facebook Live?
It is.
Okay.
Twitch is more like hip with the kids. Like you have to be. You're
I don't
not-
know if you could sense the sarcasm.
You're
in
not
my-
getting
in my
like
voice.
you're not getting anyone under 35 on Facebook. So
No. Okay.
that's what I've been told.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think
That's what
so.
they say, whoever
That's
they
what
are.
they say.
yeah,
Mhm.
they. So anyways, well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you again, Jenna. If you have any questions for us, please shoot them out to us, and we'll be happy to help you guys out and answer them. And we'll talk to you again.
Yep. Catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.